Hello, I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to be back. Today we're going to grill or broil, if that's what you'd like to call it. We're going to do that outside on not a gas-fired grill, but regular coals. And I'm going to cook fish and several vegetable items that could all be served for one complete meal. And so let me show you how to get started. These are the Portabella Mushrooms, and I'm going to lay them here and marinate them gill side up. The asparagus is pretty thin, so I'm not going to bother to peel it. If it's real thick, you might want to peel it on the stems. And the best thing to do really is to snap it, see where it pops. And then I'm going to cut the rest of it to match that. So we're going to lay all this in here because I'm going to put a dressing on this, a marinade. And I'm going to do tomatoes as well. So we'll just take a paring knife, stick the point in and just twirl the tomato. We'll slice them in half. I'll do one more. And I know you've been cooking a lot of fish, but part of that reason is because fish cooks so quickly. And I'm trying to make these videos simple and quick and easy for you. We will move on to beef and lamb and other meats later, but to learn the initial methods of applying heat, we've already done braising and poaching and sauteing. I'm going to continue to use fish because it makes our demos so much quicker. As you can see, I have iced my fish. Like I said before, it's in a plastic bag. Today we have Mahi Mahi, which is a typical Florida fish. Fish that you grill, you would like for it to be pretty meaty. A skinless flounder, something very delicate, wouldn't do well on the grill, but something thick like this, that's got sort of a steaky texture and the skin is still on, will grill perfectly. So let me just tidy up. I'm going to show you my marinade process and then we'll head out to the grill. Be right back. Whenever I make a dressing, I do it from scratch because they're so easy to make and they taste so fresh and wonderful and they're cheap. But there is one exception to that rule for me. I use Gerard champagne dressing to marinate fish, chicken, and several different kinds of vegetables when I'm going to put them on the grill. A friend of mine, Bob Rosenberg, turned me on to this idea, and I think he got it from his friend, Brian Pop. So here's to Brian and Bob. Oh, Ollie, I might have to have you help me get this open. Anyway, I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to drizzle it over the fish. I'm going to fill the gills of the mushrooms. I'm going to put this over the top of the tomatoes and all over the asparagus. And the asparagus and tomatoes really don't need a lot of time, but the mushrooms, I'll give them 10-15 minutes. The fish, 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes is all it needs before you go to the grill. Here, Ollie, help me. Okay, I've got the bottle open, so I'm going to shake this up real quick because you want to make sure your vinaigrettes are have an emulsion. Here we go, a little bit over the fish, right into the gills. If you're feeling like it's pouring too fast, just control it a little. Go all over the asparagus. White asparagus would work when it was in season. I want to tell you this is often available in most stores, but if you cannot find this, of course, use your own favorite vinaigrette or make one from scratch. But the company is Marzetti, and their website is www.marzetti.com. Maybe they'll send you a bottle. Okay, 20 minutes and we're out to the grill. I'm going to garnish this fish lunch with some reduced balsamic vinegar. This is a very common brand that you can find in almost every grocery store. When you do this, you just put it in a hot pan and cook it down into half the volume. I'm very lucky. Somebody gave me this 20-year-old vinegar and I'm going to use it today. I haven't even used it yet and see if it really makes a difference. I'm thinking it might be a little more mellow. When we reduce balsamic vinegar, which is already a very sweet vinegar, it gets even sweeter. So we'll just put a little in the bottom of that pan. We'll cook that down by half and it'll be a little bit syrupy. And when our fish is plated, we can drizzle it. So this will take about 3 minutes maybe, and I'll be checking my grill in the meantime, and then we're headed out to broil. Okay, I just want to show you what this is really going to look like when it's done. Remember when we were making chicken marsala or the cream sauce and it was getting sticky or tacky on the sides? That's what we're getting here. We're going to pull this off because when this cools, the sugar's in it, it gets more syrupy. So I can tell by the way the bubbles are that I've reduced enough. So we're just gonna let that cool. We're all done. I'm gonna scrape down this grill now that it's nice and hot. You can see my coals are white and ashy and putting out the nice even heat. There's no fire or flame coming up. This grill is a touch rusty, so I'm gonna take a little olive oil and just wipe it down slightly and see, pull that rust off. Alrighty. And now, my fish will take the longest, so that's what I'm going to start with. Most grills have the wires just running one direction, in which case you put your product diagonal if you want to get a nice crisscross, a diamond shape instead of just squares on the score. But in this one it's not going to matter. So I lay the fish down, maybe put the rest of that oil on the back side. Don't worry if a little flame comes up because that's just the oil burning off. And now we'll put these mushrooms on, and I'm going to start them gill side down because I want to finish them gill side up to retain the juices. So we start this way. And I'm going to wait a little bit for the mushrooms and the asparagus because they don't take quite as long. I'm just coating the asparagus here, making sure it's well coated. And we'll be back when we're ready to turn. Generally, we only turn something over once. So I want to make sure I have nice markings. Your fish will lift off the grill when it's ready. So if it's sticking, I don't want to pull the grill marks off. That means I need to hang on to it on the grill a little longer. But it's coming off pretty nicely. I'm just going to be very gentle about checking it. I'm going to leave it a little longer. I want those grill marks darker. I am going to rotate my mushrooms. Maybe take them off the direct heat. Make sure that, you know, they're kind of on the edge so that they get cooked evenly. So I'm rotating them. It's time to add my tomatoes, and I'm going to cook those skin side or open side down first. Tomatoes cook very quickly, so we'll put those on the edge. Let me check the fish again. Oh, it's just almost there. But again, when it's not quite lifting off, so I'd be silly to try to scrape it off. It's not ready to turn yet. It needs to cook halfway through to the center. And so in a couple more minutes, this has only been on about 2. In a couple more minutes, Oliver will come back with me and we'll actually make the flip. Maybe you've noticed that I've waited for the asparagus. It actually cooks very quickly. This is about 500 degrees. And I'm going to put the lid down for a little bit just to capture the heat and a little of the smoke to give it a great flavor. And then I'll come back, flip these over, and add the asparagus to the grill. This is actually going very quickly. Only 60 seconds have passed. I'm going to flip these mushrooms over because they're nice on this one side. Finish them gill side up so all the juices stay in. We will flip these tomatoes over. You can see that they've got a little grill mark on them. Don't want to overcook tomatoes. Put those on the outside. Now I'm going to take my spatula and turn this fish. And don't be worried if a little bit sticks on the grill. It's not gonna matter in the end. We'll finish this skin side down. Oh, and look and see, some of it came off, but you still have this pretty grill, the diamond look. Can you see that, Ollie? Okay, scoot that back a little bit. And here comes the asparagus. I have a certain technique. And it's like when we cook the chicken for marsala, you use your hands. Now if your grates just go in one direction, you need to lay these the opposite direction so they don't just fall through. Now we just take our hand, keeping it flat, and we're going to get these all level and flush so they'll cook evenly. Okay, be back in a couple minutes. This is actually going very quickly. My fish, I can see, is getting nice and juicy on the top, meaning that the juices are being chased up to the top. It's not pulling apart quite, so I'm not quite ready, but very close. One more minute. You can see how it's starting to separate right here. You don't want to overcook your fish. If it's got a little bit of translucency in there, like Scotch tape, leave it on for another minute. I want to show you how to rotate these asparagus. I know it looks scary, but you just take your hand and you just move them like this. And you rotate them. You can see how nice and brown those are. They're cooking very quickly. Oops, lost one. Okay. And yeah, it's a little hot, but I'm not laying my fingers directly on them. I think my tomatoes are they're done. They're nice and soft. I can see my mushrooms are oozing juice, so I think they're ready. I'm not going to cross-contaminate and put anything that was raw back in and is now cooked back into the pan. I'm going to put it on a fresh plate or pan. So these mushrooms are ready. As you know, we like to let things rest a little bit and continue the cooking process. Grab my tongs and get those tomatoes, because they're nice and soft. You can see the softness. There's like jelly coming out of the middle there. It's tender. It's not limp. It doesn't really have a lot of bite. It's actually done. And I know most people won't believe it, but that's really as long as it takes. And you can see that the color is still preserved beautifully. It's not turned an olive green. And if you drop one into the coals, just figure it's an offering to the gods. Oh, I can see the juices coming through. So I know this is going to continue to cook ever so slightly. So I'm going to take this fish off. If the skin comes off and it's stuck on the grill, don't worry about it, because we're going to take the skin off when we get inside anyway. So here we go, into the kitchen to plate. We've waited a couple of minutes inside to make sure that our fish has rested, and Ollie and I have both checked and the juices are coming out. So I'm just going to take this from the center, because this is a big piece. I'm going to lift this right off the skin, hopefully. Might have to peel it. You can see it just comes apart, and look how beautiful that is. And that again is that's the red fat. That's not undercooked. That's the red, or the brown fat. That's the good omega-3s. I'm going to peel this skin right off of here. Here we go. See how easy that was? And we'll put that together. And put a tomato on the plate. Put some of the asparagus on this plate. And, you know, if you're going to serve these mushrooms, they're almost like a steak. So if you're a vegetarian and you're going to serve these mushrooms, I would suggest not slicing them. Let your guest slice into them as though it is a piece of steak. But since we have fish with this dish, we're going to go ahead and slice this up to make our plate look pretty. So you just go like this. You can see when you look inside, it's cooked, but it's not too cooked, because otherwise it will get really soft and not have the same wonderful bite. We're just going to lay this out nice and pretty. Remember when I made the lemon star? This time we're just going to cut a slice off so that we can squeeze. And here's my vinegar, and you can see it's thick and syrupy. It's not hot anymore. This is what happens when it cools, so you don't want to over-reduce. And all we're going to do is drizzle like this. This is our dressing, and it doesn't need anything else. Okay, Ollie, piece of basil, I let you be the judge. The sun's shining bright. I have to shield my eyes. Again, I want to emphasize that this is Gerard's champagne vinaigrette, made with champagne vinegar, and that's what makes it so special. The next lesson we'll be roasting in the oven. We'll roast on a high heat, dry, hot, and fast, which was the same thing we did today grilling, which was dry, hot, and fast, about 500 degrees. And I hope you enjoy. The asparagus were wonderful, and I'll see you next time.